Hello, everyone. This is the Intuitive Hypnotherapy Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Cynthia Smith. I started this podcast because we had just dipped our toes in no, let me start over. I started my business, Intuitive Hypnotherapy, early in the pandemic, roughly May of 2020. I started the podcast in May of 2022. So I am a chiropractor. That's how I get the doctor in front of my name. I've done that for 30 years. And I'm also a licensed acupuncturist. I went to psychic school. I will explain that later. And then I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. I have lots of other bells and whistles certifications in my illustrious career. The thrust of this particular episode is walking in your truth. And as we are wont to do, many of us want the next generation to do better than we have. I certainly want those of you listening to do better than I have. I certainly want my daughter to learn and do better and more quickly than I've learned. So I went to chiropractic college in 1990, and I went to chiropractic college instead of med school. I had applied to both. And I thought, chiropractic college instead of med school, I can get out of chiropractic college in 3 years. Med school, if I specialize, is going to be 8. That sounds like a long time. And it's going to be roughly the same money once you get out. And lies. Maybe in the 80s, early 90s, it was the same, but no. And I've learned along the way that for a select few who are really, really passionate about chiropractic, they can make a good living. I've worked very, very hard and done okay, but it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of hard work on the body. And I don't know if this is a distasteful term. The term I've used is redheaded stepchildren of the insurance world. Chiropractors are the redheaded stepchildren of the insurance world. If you bill insurance for chiropractic, your chiropractic is carved out. You have the higher copays, you get reimbursed less, and you got to fight harder to get less. And that's why a lot of chiropractors just go cash. And in the end of my career, I started just going cash, and it was just miserable. And it was interesting. And it was because my chiropractor said, you should be a chiropractor. And so I said, well, that sounds like a good idea. And really, I didn't even want to be a chiropractor. I wanted to be a singer. And I had auditioned for several bands in this one band in Denver called Hot Lunch. And I didn't get the audition. So I went to school. That's a true story. And years later, one of the fellas said, we always wish that we'd hired you instead. I'm like, there you go. So I went to chiropractic college, and if you've ever seen the movie Center Stage, and if you haven't seen the movie Center Stage, I highly recommend it. My daughter, who is manna from heaven, if I haven't said it enough in this podcast, Shanti, my only child, is just this coolest kid on the planet. And for some reason, even as a youngster, she had this ability to choose movies or find movies. We did the Blockbuster on Friday nights, And so she would always pick out these great movies, these avant-garde. And one of the movies she picked out was one called Center Stage. And if you haven't seen it, go see it. So it's about a ballet company and this one gal who didn't have great feet, but was really passionate. And this is where we were introduced to the actress Zoe Saldana, Guardians of the Galaxy and Avatar and many, many more. And she was a prima ballerina in this movie, and she took over for the gal who was living vicariously for her mother. And but she didn't love being a ballerina. And she said, just I'm doing it just because I'm good at it, not because I love it. And mine is kind of the opposite. No, I guess it was the same. I was really, really good at being a chiropractor. I mean, especially necks, boy, if you wanted your neck adjusted, I used to tease my patients, like, if I couldn't get your neck, that it's you. So I was really, really good at being a chiropractor, but I was never passionate about it. And, I got really annoyed at having to fight the insurance companies to pay me for doing really good work on my patients and for my patients. And I was one of those science nerds that I could diagnose patients with elements of their issue, whatever it was, a foot, a hammer toe, a compartment syndrome, reversal of curve, one of the other things, I would find things on x-rays that radiologists would miss. And another thing I've learned is don't call a radiologist as a chiropractor and tell them what they've missed on the x-ray. They hate that. So, but the patients appreciate that. So I would spend the time to go over the x-rays or the MRIs with the patients and explain to them what was going on physiologically and what I could do structurally to help them. And then if I was doing acupuncture in addition, the energy flow, the chi flow, and if Chinese herbs were warranted, what was necessary or what I'd recommend that would help them for that. So that's what I did. And so how this wraps into finding your path. And again, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, back in September, I had knee surgery because it's about a year and a half ago, I had a fall at my former landlady's house. And like, why are you having a landlady? Well, as a chiropractor, sometimes you don't make house paying money. Now, some do. I have not, but that's neither here nor there, no judgment. Anyway, so I was helping her out. I had a terrible fall, crushing injury on my 4 limbs, and yet I was still putting my body at risk to help other people's bodies get better. So I'm such an empath and such a healer that I was helping other people heal, even at the expense of my own physicality. And I I knew that this wasn't my path, and yet it was how I was paying rent. It was, what I was trained to do. It was what I was good at, right? I had that company. And so it came to a place where like all my parts were just hurting. I had the surgery, but it was still hurting. And then my wrists were hurting. I have a nerve injury with my right hand, is something I was born with. I call it my gimpy little fin. And so my left hand has to pick up a lot of slack. And in the fall, I landed on both those wrists, and that didn't help the situation at all. So that I landed on both knees. So it just was a lot of work. And in the meantime, scattered in between, I'm doing healing work, I'm doing change work, I'm doing hypnotherapy, I'm doing psychic readings for patients. And I started my healing work, my psychic training, and I started at a place called Interconnection Institute in Denver, Colorado. I had passed a sign several times said meditation classes. And I got her newsletter for a year before I actually made it in. And it was meditation classes, and it was psychic awareness. And it really aligned with my sensitivities, what made sense in my world, as far as everything being energy. If you've read any of Wayne Dyer or Deepak Chopra's stuff, Deepak Chopra obviously is a medical doctor, and quantum physics, and you know, the nanoparticles, and everything is energy. Thoughts are energy, and so the type of psychic work that they taught there was that everything is energy, and we learn to look at energy, we learn to read energy, we learn to be aware of energy. Our bodies are energy, our thoughts are energy, and then we learn to be certain about the energies that we are seeing. And when we say seeing, we're seeing with our mind, we're seeing in our mind's eye, we're seeing with our eyes closed. And I always, in my head and my heart of hearts, always knew I had that ability. I just didn't have anybody or anyone to kind of ground into that. And so as I was studying this, and the cool part about psychic school is you're learning these tools, but you're also getting healings. You're healing some of your stuff. When I learned in chiropractic college that I was pregnant with my daughter, I knew that I had some schmutz. I knew that I wasn't perfectly grounded, and, you know, came from a family that had schmutz. And so I dove into healing. I went to the Unity Church. That's where I got turned on to Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and that crowd. I went and saw Wayne Dyer for an entire weekend for $50. True story. Somewhere I still have some of his notes from his seminar. Boy, that was information rich. And I did an Ayurvedic seminar, and, you know, just really dove into trying to heal childhood trauma, trying to heal, you know, not good enough stuff, because I was going to bring a life into the world, and I wanted to do better for her, even if I didn't know exactly specifically what that was going to be. So when I started at ICI, the Interconnection Institute, my kid was about 5, and I was single mom, and I was had a chiropractic practice. And so I was juggling, she was in school, and, you know, to this day, I don't fucking know how I did it all. Pardon my English. So I told the director there that I said, I don't want to get healed and not be funny anymore. True story. You can't make this up. And she quite seriously and quite amusingly said, actually, as you get healed, you'll find that you can actually have amusement, a greater level of amusement, because you won't have all your light ups anymore. And so when I let that part go and I began healing some of these pictures, some of these old traumas, and I learned the tools that I teach in this podcast of neutrality and separation and blowing roses. And I was, and then we did healings. We did hundreds of healings, and I've done hundreds, if not more, since then. Like, I am really good at this. And as I was growing as a chiropractor, and I was evolving my acupuncture practice at the time, I practiced in Denver. I practiced acupuncture under my chiropractic license. This will all be in my book, my autobiography, Adventures in Cindyland, I think is what I'm going to call it. And I thought, wow, I'm good as a chiropractor, but I think I'm really good as a psychic, as a clairvoyant. I had a level of certainty about being able to heal people. What I did not have a certainty about was how to build a business around that. And the director of the school, the institute, the psychic school, said, well, don't mention anything about being a psychic or a clairvoyant in any of your chiropractic business, because the chiropractic board will come down on you. And that scared the bejesus out of me, because that's how I was paying rent. That's how I was taking care of my kid. And so I was scared for most of my career of outing myself as a psychic for fear that I wouldn't be able to take care of my kid. That's not a good thing. So I didn't, for fear of not being able to pay my rent, for fear of, I would say it in hushed tones in the chiropractic room with patients that I felt could have that information. I wouldn't use the P word, the psychic word, with patients. I would use energy work. I would use energy medicine. I would use medical intuitive medicine, all these more delicate words. It all means the same thing. Even sensitive. There's a word called, people are known as sensitives for psychic, and as a way to say that you do energy work. Some people were totally cool with it, down with it. I had a psychic practice, a reading practice within my chiropractic practice. I've done it for years. I just wasn't out and proud. And then fast forward, I moved to California. A couple of reasons. My daughter moved out here. So if you've been seeing me sip on my coffee and with my sack steak mug, my daughter played basketball at that lovely institution. And she got me that mug. And being a family of two, I followed her out here. And I thought perhaps California was a little more free and I could let my freak flag fly out here. Could I? Maybe, yes. And I talked to a couple of chiropractors, and I thought I was just going to be able to bring my chiropractic and my acupuncture degree out here and just set up shop and be ready to go. This is where you hear the needles scratch across the record. No. What in fact I had to do was I had to get a full and complete master's degree in acupuncture and Oriental medicine because you have to have a separate license and degree to practice acupuncture out here in California. They don't play around. So I went back to school. And fortunately for the Recovery Act under Obama's administration, I was able to borrow more student loans. Fortunately, or maybe not fortunately, I don't know. The jury's still out on that. But I was able to go back to school and got my master's in acupuncture. And it was really great because for 3 years, I, was able to kind of recover 18 years in practice in Colorado, raising my kid by myself. And I had this lovely do-over out here. I was able to go to school, worked part-time as a psychic, and got to flex my nerd brain and learned acupuncture at a depth and breadth that I hadn't as a subset under my chiropractic license in Colorado. And most of the students I was in school with were half my age. And it was really nice. It was really nice to have, oh, this is a different side of the world. And since, I don't know, maybe a third, maybe 50% of the student body were of Asian descent, and many of them wore masks to school long before the pandemic, and that was just part of their culture when they felt sick or whatever. And so when the pandemic came down and we were asked to wear a mask, it was no big deal to me because I had friends that was already normal for them. And so I just adopted what my friends were already doing. And I was just like, oh, okay. And so I got that from that experience. I love learning. My nerd brain really loves to flex. And after graduation, I was not able to practice chiropractic when I moved here. My license didn't reciprocate because I was a dinosaur and the laws had changed. And so I had to take another part of the board in order to get a chiropractic license. Again, it wasn't a huge deal, but it cost some money. And I had to study with one of the chiropractic students at the school I was at. So again, it was fine, learned some things, relearned some things. Kept practicing chiropractic because what I did learn, two things: the acupuncture board, and figured out that when the Affordable Care Act came around, the acupuncture board had their stuff together way better than the chiropractic board because they had acupuncture mandated in all the plans. They're like, guys, let's just pull it together. I don't care if you're, of this, plan, or you like this, like, let's just all to get together and let's have acupuncture mandated. Chiropractors, we still have the straights and the mixers, and we still are arguing amongst ourselves. For years and years and years, we begged Congress to get 12 visits on Medicare. And then, as far as I know, we still can't treat troops. I don't know, maybe that shifts, but it's horrible. As chiropractors, we didn't have our stuff together. But for the plans that we do get paid, chiropractic pays better. So working under that license just made sense. Anyway, so that's the story with that. Anyway, after graduation, I got an opportunity to work out here in Newport. I thought I was going to go up to Santa Barbara, where a friend of mine lived. I did not. This opportunity in Newport worked out. So I landed there. That didn't end up lasting and didn't for one. And next to that office opened up a hypnosis institute. And I introduced myself to that outfit. Scott Sandlin was the director. And I said, tell me a little bit about this hypnosis. And I went through some training, got some more training, did some more training, a little bit more, done so. And two things. I found out that there's a lot of overlap between hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and the psychic work I've already done. There's a lot of overlap between the energy work I've learned in psychic school and the energy pathways in acupuncture. There is a lot of overlap, almost the exact same thing in some NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and some of the psychic techniques we use. So it's like none of this stuff is exactly brand new, and it all borrows from one another. Like chiropractic talks about life force and innate intelligence, and medicine has their own spin on it. So nothing is really new, right? And I already knew I was a great chiropractor, and I had been doing acupuncture with amazing deftness of hands because of my chiropractic technique. So my needling technique, even with a bump, you could see the missing muscles here. See, that's my weird hand. That's my gimpy hand, but I'm still an awesome needler with it. Is the deftness of hand with, because 18 years, then now 30 years is, moving energy, and then the psychic work, moving energy, that certainty. I was like, oh, okay. And then with hypnosis, it's like another set of tools. And I'm really good at this. So pandemic happens, right? And I know I can help people, even if they're stuck in their houses. I know people are now having to sit in their shit, right? I know people are not necessarily thrilled with having to be with their children all day long, to be with their husbands, to be with their family, to not have the freedom to go out and about, to not be able to go to the gym and discharge energy in a spin class. I know, I missed it too. But I also thought, well, these people aren't necessarily going to look up a chiropractor for help, dealing with some of that. Therefore, I opened intuitive hypnotherapy, and I was tossing around names. Shanti hypnotherapy, life force hypnotherapy, woo-woo hypnotherapy. I thought of all the woo-woo names and the science names and everything. And my daughter says, why don't you just call it intuitive hypnotherapy? I'm like, that's a good one. She goes, well, you are an intuitive and you do hypnotherapy. Okay. Sometimes you just keep it simple. So I did. And bless her heart, just like my chiropractic logo, she designed this logo. So when you look at the podcast and you see that beautiful lotus blossom on the gold on the navy, that is my daughter's artwork. Yay. And it took a couple of years because since the beginning of the pandemic, I've been a one-woman show in my office. Because during the pandemic, it was just easier to not have a staffy, because that was just one more person, because I had a fairly small practice. Just not have another person that I had to navigate around, who are you, whose schmutz are you bringing in? Or, do I have to navigate you wearing a mask, not wearing a mask? And it's just like not having an extra person in. I just didn't have to deal with it. I just had myself, my rules, my office, and it just made it simpler. So, and that was the case until May of 2021, and I had a virtual assistant for a short time, and just to help with some stuff, because everything is online, right? But doing everything also started to get to be a drag, because doing all the care, doing all the admin stuff, trying to offload as much as I could. But I didn't have as much time to do this work and show everyone all the cool stuff that I can do. And this podcast is the one little getaway that I afforded myself to talk to the universe at large and say, listen, I have this quiver full of arrows. I have all of these tools, and each episode has been one healing of one example of some of the work that I do. And I have been remiss in not giving you an opportunity to call in or schedule a discovery session with me. We've been saying, if you want to contact me, but no, seriously, if you want to have a sesh with me, if you're ready to make change, if you're ready to go, you know what, you are amazing. And I bet you are an awesome chiropractor, and you sound like, just a capital gal. And I want your sensibilities, your sense of humor, and your take on the world, and your empathy. I want you to help me make some changes in my life. I want you to help me manage my grief. I want you to help me level up in my business. I want you to help me heal this relationship I'm in. That and a million other things. That's what I'm here for. And in my podcast, because I was looking for a podcast that I wanted to listen to, every podcast, I give you a healing. So if you just wanted to listen to my podcast and you could listen to them over and over, you can have that meditation. You could have a grounding, a session. And coming up, not right yet, but there's another thing I'll be doing, if you want, on the discount, is something called the Wisdom app, where you can have a little bite-sized healing, one-on-one, mano-a-mano. And I'll put the information in the show notes. If you want a discovery session with me, it'll be in the show notes. It'll go directly to the website where you can click. It'll go right to my website, and you can register for a discovery session. Now, on the if you are ready to just jump in and get some care, you can register for, you can sign up for some care. You can go in there, and it's basically right through my online store. And you can buy a session, put in your credit card number, put in your email address, and then you put in some dates that work for you. Now, on Pacific time, whatever time zone you're in, we'll try to coordinate schedules, and all of that information will be in the show notes. And back to you. But this is my story. Yes, I've been yammering on for a minute, but I wanted to come clean to you guys. I wanted to come clean to you guys because closing my physical office because I simply couldn't do the physical work anymore. Sometimes the universe nudges you in the direction you want to do. Sometimes it freaking kicks you out. I was shoved out, and I didn't take the subtle hint. And I hope that with some consciousness, that if the universe is giving you some subtle hints to march in the direction of your dreams, for you to walk in your truth, that you will. So if you are ready to walk in your truth, whatever it is, shall we start our meditation? Let's do it. So find yourself someplace comfortable to sit, okay? Get a glass of water, get a cup of coffee, cup of tea, get up in a nice comfy blanket, get in a chaise lounge, whatever makes sense for you. And understand this is, the drill. No driving, no operating heavy machinery, right? This is time for you. This is time for you to give to you, for you to love on you, for you to take some inventory for you. Awesome. Okay. Sit back. Let's take a deep breath. Do that again. For those that know your tool, center of head grounding cord bubble, go ahead and start. If you are new to the show, be a point of light. Be a point of light nestled behind your eyes and in between your temples. We call this place the center of your head. Center of your head is your sixth chakra. This is your knowingness. This is your psychic space. This is also the place where if you stay as a point of light behind your eyes and in between your temples, you can imagine that you can look at the world from behind your eyes, behind your closed eyes, and you can see the world from a place of neutrality. And have some distance from the information or the situation that you're in. Therefore, be a point of light in the center of your head. And look around the center of your head and see if there's anyone in there with you. And if there is, go ahead and move them out. And if there's more than one them, go ahead and push them out. Be in the center of your head all by yourself. The next of our tools is our aura bubble. That's our energy field. It's our space. So imagine a bubble around you in all directions, over your head, either side, front and back. And imagine this bubble is complete in all directions. So make sure that it's fully round, front, back, and sides, even under your feet. And give it a color. Any color but black or white. Give it a color that feels good on your body, feels comfortable. And the next tool is our grounding cord. That's a connection from the base of your spine, as wide as your hips, all the way down to the center of the earth. So have it go through the chair you're sitting in, through the floor, through all the floors of the building you're in, all the way down to the center of the earth, and have the center of the earth look like a pasture or a beach or a piece of land that your grounding cord can really ground into. And let your grounding cord really tether you, really ground you to the center of the earth. And whatever day you are listening to this, put that day and date on your grounding cord. Date stamp it, bring it in, bring yourself into present time. And if you have any discomfort in your physical body, if you have any uncomfortable feelings, any stress, anything that doesn't feel good or welcoming in your body or in your senses, just let that fall away. Let that fall down your grounding cord. If you want it back, it'll be waiting for you when we're done with this meditation. As you allow your body and your bubble to clear out, of any foreign energies, any energies that aren't yours. Take a few deep cleansing breaths. Allow your body to just detox a little bit. And on the outside of your bubble, I want you in your mind's eye to create a television screen or a theater screen, and imagine that you are sitting in a theater seat. Okay. And up on the theater screen is a movie of your own life. You are the writer, the director, the star, the editor, the producer. And you also have a blank check. So as you're looking at this video screen, what would you like your next step to look like? What would you like your job, your relationship, your career, your place in the world, your physical health, your calling? Is what you're doing raising the vibration of the planet? Is what you're doing for the betterment of man? And are you happy? What do you need to do as you're writing your script to evolve your character, that character that is you, to fill in all of those gaps, to have a fully realized character? Someone who's kind, compassionate, healthy on the inside and out. Someone who's caring. Someone who cares and is cared for. Someone who is part of their community. However that looks in your world. Can you have in your next step, whatever you touch, can you have it as part of a healing touch? Doesn't matter if you're a bus driver or a bank teller or a pilot. can you run energy through your hands? And the answer is yes, everybody can. As you picture your next step, walking in your path, walking in your truth, and knowing that your path might not be an abrupt, shimmy to the left. It might be a slow, careful series of steps to get you there. Although it could be abrupt. However you mock it up. But sit with yourself in your heart and know that whatever you want wants you back. So as you're sitting there in the theater seat, watching this play out for you, stay in the center of your head. Stay in your bubble. Stay grounded. And as you're watching that, to whatever degree makes sense for you, it might be a little hazy, it might be an exquisite detail. Stay in the center of your head. And from the center of your head, imagine that you can look up. You can look up into the heavens. And into the heavens, you can draw in through the top of your head some energy. We call this cosmic energy. And draw in to the top of your head some cosmic energy. It might be a trickle, it might be a wider band of energy. And yes, you can do two things at once. And you can do this while staying in the center of your head. But this is energy that's coming from the cosmos, coming from the universe, coming from the God of your heart. Draw that energy into your body from the top of your head into the seventh chakra, into the sixth chakra, into your head, your neck, your throat, your chest, your arms, all the way down to your fingertips, into your torso, your belly, your low back, hips, thighs, all the way down to your legs and toes. And then if you like, you can have some of that energy swirl back up. Some of that energy might fountain out the top of your head. Some of that energy might branch off at your neck, at your fifth chakra, and travel down your arms and fountain out your hand chakras. This is called cosmic energy. And this allows you to feel connected to Source. And it cleans out anything in your physical body that doesn't allow you to feel connected to Source. And while you're running cosmic energy and creating your next step, walking in your truth, what does that look like when you're connected to your God source? How is that? Is it clearer? Is it more divine? Is it more hopeful? Be in the center of your head. Be a point of light in the center of your head. Looking at your reading screen, looking at that movie screen. And allow yourself to be courageous. As you run that cosmic energy, know that God wants you to be courageous. The God of your heart, source energy. You have all the goods. You are eligible to march in the direction of your dreams. Again, it might be slow. It might be in the direction of your dreams. You might be planning to get there. I want you to be happy. The universe wants you to be happy. The universe needs you to be happy. Because happy people help other people be happy. Help other people be on their path. So see the movie of your life marching, walking in your truth, and allow that truth to be filled with positive language, peace, joy, happiness, those positive qualities, the I am. Anything you follow the words I am with, you're calling into existence. I am joyous. I am happy. I am determined. I am healing. I am marching in my truth. And you are deserving. You are deserving of doing great things. If you're an artist, be an artist. If you're an engineer, be an engineer. Be the best engineer. You owe it to the world to do what you do well and to keep trying. We all have that special something. You have a light. Don't hide it under a bushel. Let it shine. And when you're ready, take that video screen or movie screen and put a giant paper lantern on it, whatever size you need. Don't shrink it down. We're not shrinking it down today. Nope. We're creating a paper lantern as big as you need. Put as big a paper lantern as you need. Put it around your video screen or your theater screen and float your video of your life, of you, that spectacular version of you, marching in your truth. Float it off to the edge of the universe, float it off to the Supreme Being. So you can begin in this moment to do just that, to walk in your truth this very instant, because you are worthy. I know it. You know it. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes. Come back to the room. There you go. And again, I'm Dr. Cynthia Smith. This is the Intuitive Hypnotherapy Podcast. My company is Intuitive Hypnotherapy, and I provide hypnotherapy, intuitive readings, coaching, all kinds of intuitive counseling, spiritual counseling. I'm even an ordained minister. If you would like a discovery session, 20 minutes, complimentary, there's a link in the show notes. You can reach out to me and we'll schedule a time and see if there's something I can do for you, and we'll take it from there. If